I was standing in my brother's new living room, holding a gift I'd spent 16 hours building, when my mom looked at me and said, "Don't touch anything. We don't want you breaking what you didn't buy." The room went quiet for a second. Then everyone laughed. My sister chimed in from the couch, wine glass in hand. "Yeah, just stay in the corner where it's safe." More laughter. My brother Roger grinned, but didn't say a word. I stood there, frozen, feeling the weight of the wrapped controller in my hands, a custom smart home system I'd programmed myself, the kind that would have cost him thousands if he'd hired anyone else. I'd stayed up late nights building it, testing every automation sequence, integrating security protocols. I thought maybe this time they'd notice. My mom walked closer, still smiling. "You can set that down somewhere out of the way. On the floor is fine." I looked at her face. There was no malice there. She wasn't trying to hurt me. That would require her to think about my feelings at all. This was just casual dismissal, reflexive, like warning a child away from something fragile. I walked to the entryway table and set the gift down next to a store-bought candle. Then I turned and walked straight out the front door. Nobody called my name. Nobody asked where I was going. The door clicked shut behind me and I got in my truck. 20 minutes later, every smart system in Roger's house went silent. My name is Henry. I'm 36 years old, and for most of my life, I've been the dependable one, the reliable brother, the steady son who shows up, pays up, and shuts up. I run an electrical contracting business specializing in smart home installations. It's good work, profitable work, the kind that keeps my schedule full and my bank account comfortable. But nobody in my family has ever really understood what I do. They just know I'm the one who fixes things. Roger is 3 years younger than me. He just landed a marketing job at a tech startup. Good salary, decent benefits, but not nearly enough to afford a house in our city. Not without help. Our parents spent weeks planning his housewarming party, sending invitations to everyone, talking endlessly about how proud they were. Nobody asked where the down payment came from. They never do. Growing up, I watched my parents celebrate Roger's participation trophies, while my electrical apprenticeship certificates went unframed. When Roger graduated college, they threw a catered party at a rented venue. When I got my contractor's license, my dad shook my hand and said it was nice I'd found steady work. My sister Melissa learned early that mocking me earned laughs at family dinners. She perfected the art of casual cruelty disguised as sibling banter. The pattern established itself before I even understood what patterns were. Roger needed textbooks. I wired houses on weekends to pay for them. Melissa wanted a car. I covered the insurance for 2 years. Mom's furnace died in January. I installed a new one and told her the manufacturer was running a promotion. They believed what they wanted to believe. I became invisible infrastructure. Essential, but unacknowledged. I stopped at a coffee shop on the way home from the party and sat in the parking lot, drinking a black coffee, thinking about every wire I'd run through Roger's walls, every outlet I'd installed, every circuit I'd mapped. The whole house ran on systems I'd designed and implemented. Roger thought he'd hired my company for standard electrical work. He'd paid the material costs, $8,000. I'd billed him contractor rates that barely covered my apprentice's time. Everything else I'd done for free, because family helps family, because I thought maybe they'd appreciate it once they understood, because I was stupid. When I got home, I sat down at my computer and opened the administrative interface for Roger's smart home system. Every device, every automated function, every utility connection ran through protocols I controlled. It had been exactly 20 minutes since I'd left the party. I moved my cursor to the master control panel, clicked 3 buttons, and confirmed the shutdown sequence. Then I closed my laptop and went to make dinner. My phone started ringing at 6:14. Roger's name flashed on the screen. I let it go to voicemail. He called again 3 minutes later, then Melissa, then my mother. I muted my phone and set it face down on the coffee table. I knew exactly what was happening. The electrical shutdown I'd initiated wasn't permanent damage. Nothing was broken. But every smart system in Roger's house had entered maintenance mode. The main power stayed on, lights worked if you used wall switches, but the automated systems, the smart locks, the security cameras, the thermostat controls, the integrated sound system, all of it went dormant. More importantly, I'd suspended the utility account management. Roger's electricity, internet, water, and gas all ran through automated payment systems I'd established using my business accounts. I'd set everything up to pull from my company reserves, planning to transfer the accounts to Roger's name after 6 months once he'd settled in. The automation made it easier. I'd done the same thing for my parents' house years ago. They still didn't know their utilities ran through my accounts. I made pasta for dinner. Simple meal, olive oil, garlic, red pepper flakes, parmesan. I ate slowly, tasting nothing. My phone buzzed continuously on the table, creating a rhythmic sound against the wood. After dinner, I washed my plate, dried it, put it away. My apartment felt too quiet. I turned on music, jazz with saxophone, and sat on my sofa staring at the wall. The thing about being invisible is you learn to live with absence. You get used to birthdays where nobody calls, holidays where you're expected to show up but not expected to stay, conversations where people look past you toward more interesting relatives. You tell yourself it doesn't matter, but it does matter. It always mattered. I just pretended it didn't, because pretending was easier than admitting I'd spent 36 years hoping my family would see me. My phone lit up again. I picked it up and scrolled through the notifications. Roger, power issues here. System's down. Can you help? Melissa, Roger's house is having problems. He needs you. Mom, Henry, please call your brother. There's an emergency. I set the phone down and made tea. Earl Grey. I drank it sitting at my kitchen table, watching the sky darken outside my window. The city lights began appearing, distant towers glowing against twilight. My phone rang again, this time my father. I stared at his name on the screen until the ringing stopped. He'd never called me before, not once in the past decade. Every conversation we'd had happened because I initiated it, or because we were in the same room. Around midnight, my phone buzzed with a voicemail notification. I almost deleted it without listening, but curiosity won. Roger's voice came through, tense and frustrated. Henry, I don't know what happened, but everything in the house went dead. Internet's gone. Security system is offline. Smart locks won't respond. I've got 20 people here in the dark using phone flashlights. This is really bad timing. Please call me back. I deleted the voicemail, turned off my phone completely, rolled over, and eventually fell asleep. Sunday morning arrived with rain. I woke at 7, made coffee, and sat by my window watching water streak down the glass. My phone stayed off. I had no interest in reading whatever messages had accumulated overnight. I thought about how it all started, the pattern of providing, taking care of things, being useful. I was 14 when I first fixed something that mattered. The house wiring developed a fault. Lights flickered, outlets stopped working. My father called an electrician who quoted $1,200. We didn't have $1,200. My parents argued about it for 3 days. I'd been reading library books about electrical systems, studying circuit diagrams. I asked my father if I could look at the problem. He laughed, but agreed. I spent 6 hours tracing the fault, found a damaged neutral wire in the basement junction box, fixed it with supplies from a hardware store. Total cost? $14. My father was impressed for about 20 minutes. Then the relief settled into expectation. Of course I'd fix it. That's what I did. That's what I was for. Roger was 11 then, already the golden child, charismatic, funny, the kind of kid teachers loved. He'd come home with a B on a test, and my parents would celebrate. I'd come home with straight A's, and they'd nod approvingly. The difference was subtle but absolute. Melissa was 8. She learned from watching, learned that mocking me made people laugh, that my competence was somehow funny, that I was the family punchline waiting to happen. The dynamic calcified over years. I became the one who fixed things. Roger became the one who succeeded. Melissa became the one who entertained. My parents became spectators who applauded the show while I managed the theater's wiring. I paid for Roger's college textbooks, told him a professor ran a scholarship program. He believed it because he wanted to. I covered Melissa's car insurance when she was 19, told her I got a discount through my business. She never questioned it. I installed a new HVAC system at my parents' house, said the old one qualified for a government efficiency rebate. They accepted the story. The lies came easily after a while, not because I enjoyed lying, but because the truth never earned me anything except more requests. When Roger started house hunting, he called me to look at properties, check the electrical systems, assess potential problems. I spent weekends walking through houses with him, pointing out issues, estimating costs. He'd thank me casually, the way you'd thank someone for holding a door. He found the house he wanted in March, made an offer, got accepted. The electrical system needed updating, outdated panel, aluminum wiring, code violations. The inspection report estimated $30,000 in electrical work. Roger couldn't afford it. The down payment had stretched his savings thin. He asked if I knew any contractors who might give him a good deal. I told him I'd handle it, family rate. I spent 6 weeks rewiring his entire house, installed a new panel, replaced every outlet, added dedicated circuits for major appliances, integrated a smart home system, ran security wiring, installed automated lighting, set up the internet infrastructure, connected everything to a central control system I built from scratch. I billed him $8,000, enough to cover materials and my apprentice's wages. The real cost was closer to $45,000. I ate the difference because he was my brother, because I thought maybe this time they'd acknowledge what I'd done. I set up all his utility accounts through my business, automated the payments, planned to transfer everything to his name after 6 months. Let him settle in first, make sure everything ran smoothly. I did it to be helpful, to be the reliable brother who took care of details. The rain kept falling. My coffee went cold. I got up, poured a fresh cup, and turned on my phone. 63 messages. 14 missed calls. 7 voicemails. I scrolled through the texts. Most were from Roger, increasingly frustrated, then angry, then almost panicked. My mother's messages started concerned and evolved into demanding. Melissa sent 3 messages that somehow made the situation about her inconvenience. One voicemail was from my father. "Henry, I don't know what's going on, but your brother needs your help. His house is completely dark. No internet, no security system. People had to leave the party because nobody could see anything. Call him back." I deleted it and made breakfast. Scrambled eggs with toast. I ate while reading the news on my tablet. Nothing tasted like anything. By afternoon, the rain had stopped. I sat at my desk, laptop open, reviewing the administrative interfaces for all the systems I'd installed in Roger's house. Everything remained in maintenance mode. Nothing was broken, but nothing was responding either. My phone rang again. Roger's name? I answered this time. "Finally," Roger said. His voice carried an edge I'd never heard before. Sharp, stressed. "Where have you been? I've been calling since yesterday." "I had my phone off," I said. "The whole house is dead, Henry. Everything you installed. None of it works. The party was a disaster. People left early. I've been trying to figure this out all night." I waited 3 seconds before responding. "What specifically isn't working?" "All of it. The smart home system, the security cameras, the automated lights. Even the internet is down. I tried resetting everything. Nothing happens." "Did you check the circuit breaker?" "Of course I checked the circuit breaker. I'm not an idiot. The power is on. The refrigerator works. Regular lights work. But everything else is dead." I pulled up the diagnostic panel on my screen. Every system showed green status indicators. Everything was functioning perfectly. It just wasn't responding to local controls because I'd enabled remote administration lock. "I can come look at it," I said. "When are you free?" "Now. I'm free now. I've been waiting for you to call back." "I'm busy this afternoon. I can stop by tomorrow evening." "Tomorrow? Henry, I need this fixed today. I have people asking questions. My boss was at the party. He saw everything fail. It's embarrassing." "I understand that, but I have other commitments today." Silence stretched between us. I could hear Roger breathing, controlled, angry. "You're my brother," he finally said. "I need your help." "I helped you," I replied. "I rewired your entire house, installed $45,000 worth of systems for $8,000, set up all your utilities, automated everything. I helped you a lot. And now it's broken." "It's not broken." "Then what's wrong with it?" "I'll explain tomorrow when I come by." Roger exhaled hard into the phone. "Fine, tomorrow. What time?" 7. "Fine." He hung up. I set my phone down and stared at the screen. The diagnostic panel showed Roger's house humming along perfectly. Every circuit balanced. Every automation protocol ready to execute. The whole system waited for my authorization to resume local control. I wasn't going to give it. I opened a new window and logged into the utility management portal. Roger's electricity, water, gas, and internet all appeared as active accounts under my business name. Automatic payments scheduled through my company account. I'd been paying his utilities for 3 months, since before he even closed on the house. I clicked through the account settings, changed the payment authorization, suspended the automatic transfers, set the accounts to manual payment mode. Roger would start receiving bills in his name now, real bills for services I'd been covering. Then I opened the Smart Home Administration panel and disabled remote access restoration. Even if Roger hired another company to look at the systems, they'd find everything technically functional, but unresponsive. The authentication protocols required my personal credentials. Nobody else could reactivate local control. My phone buzzed with a text from my mother. "Henry, your brother is very upset. Please help him fix his house. He worked hard for this." I typed a response. "I'll stop by tomorrow to assess the situation." She replied immediately. Can't you go today? He's really stressed. I'm busy today. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again, then nothing. She stopped typing. I closed my laptop and went for a walk. The neighborhood streets were slick from rain, puddles reflecting gray sky. I walked for an hour thinking about all the things I'd fixed over the years, all the problems I'd solved, all the gratitude I'd never received. When I got back to my apartment, I had 2 more voicemails, one from Melissa, one from Roger. I deleted them both without listening. I spent Sunday evening organizing documentation. I'm meticulous about records, part of running a legitimate contracting business. Every job gets photographed, every invoice saved, every communication documented. Roger's house file was substantial. I opened the digital folder and started reviewing. March 15th. First walkthrough photos. The house before any work began. Outdated electrical panel, aluminum wiring visible in the basement, code violations marked with red tags. March 22nd. Detailed estimate I'd prepared for Roger. Line items breaking down material costs, labor, permit fees. The real estimate, $47,000. I'd shown him a modified version listing $8,000. He'd been relieved, said it was exactly what he could afford. April through May. Progress photos. I documented every stage. Walls open, old wiring removed, new circuits installed, smart home infrastructure, security system placement, every step photographed with timestamps. June 3rd, final inspection photos. City inspector's approval. Signed permit showing all work completed to code. My contractor's license number on the documentation. I also had the financial records. Invoices from suppliers, material costs, labor payments to my apprentice. The numbers added up to $42,317. Roger had paid $8,000. I'd absorbed $34,000 as a gift. Family rate taken to an absurd extreme. Then there were the utility accounts. I'd set everything up in March before Roger even closed on the house. Wanted the services active when he moved in. Electricity, gas, water, internet, security monitoring. All billed through my business account. Automated payments drawing from my company reserves. I pulled up the payment history. March through July. 5 months of utilities. Total paid, $3,240. I created a spreadsheet, listed every expense, every hour of labor, every material cost, every utility payment. The total came to $45,517. What I'd actually given Roger versus what he thought he'd paid. I saved the spreadsheet, created a PDF, backed everything up to cloud storage. Then I opened my email and drafted a message to my accountant, Kelly. I need to restructure some business expenses. Several projects I classified as family courtesy work need to be reclassified as personal gifts for tax purposes. Can we meet this week to review the documentation? I sent it. Kelly would understand. She'd been telling me for years that I couldn't keep eating business costs for family projects, that the IRS wouldn't view massive discounts to relatives as legitimate business expenses. I'd ignored her advice. Now, I'd follow it. My phone rang. Melissa's name. I answered. What did you do to Roger's house? No greeting, just accusation. I didn't do anything to his house. Everything stopped working right after you left the party. That's not a coincidence. Technology fails sometimes. Not all at once, not perfectly timed. Roger thinks you sabotaged something. I laughed. Actually laughed. Why would I sabotage systems I installed? Because you were upset about Mom's comment. What comment? You know what comment. She was joking, Henry. Don't be so sensitive. I leaned back in my chair, closed my eyes. Melissa, I spent 6 weeks rewiring Roger's house. I gave him a $40,000 discount. I set up all his utilities. I built custom automation systems. I did all of that for free because he's my brother, and when I walked into his house carrying a gift I'd spent hours building, Mom told me not to touch anything because I'd break what I didn't buy. She was joking. No, she wasn't. And you weren't joking when you told me to stay in the corner. You both meant exactly what you said. You just didn't expect it to matter. Silence. I could hear Melissa breathing. So you did sabotage his house, she finally said. I didn't sabotage anything, but I'm also not going to keep paying for systems he thinks he owns. What does that mean? It means Roger's about to learn what his house actually costs. You're being petty. I'm being accurate. Mom is going to be furious when she finds out you're doing this. Mom doesn't pay attention to what I do until she needs something. This won't be different. Melissa made a sound of frustration. You've always been difficult. I've always been convenient, I corrected. There's a difference. She hung up. I set my phone down and returned to my documentation. I had work to do. I arrived at Roger's house at 7:03 on Monday evening, 3 minutes late, deliberate, the small rebellion of someone who'd spent decades arriving early to be helpful. Roger opened the door before I could knock. He looked tired, stressed. His shirt was wrinkled. Finally, he said, "Come in." The house felt different without the smart systems running. No automated lights gradually brightening. No background music. No voice assistant responding to commands. Just a regular house, with wall switches and silence. Roger led me to the kitchen. He'd printed something out. Papers sat on the counter next to his laptop. A bottle of beer stood half empty nearby. "I've been researching," he said, trying to figure out what failed. "Everything suggests the main controller crashed, but I can't access it. Every admin interface requires credentials I don't have." "That's correct," I said. He stared at me. "What do you mean that's correct?" "You don't have admin credentials. I never gave them to you." "Why not?" "Because the systems aren't transferred yet. I was planning to hand everything over after 6 months. Let you settle in first. Make sure everything ran smoothly." "So you can fix it? You can reactivate everything?" "Yes." Relief crossed his face. "Okay, great. Please do that." I pulled out my phone, opened a notes app, started typing. "What are you doing?" Roger asked. "Making a list. You'll need admin credentials, utility account information, automation protocols, security system codes, and the master reset procedures." "Okay, yeah, that all makes sense." "You'll also need to take over the utility payments." He frowned. "What utility payments?" "Electricity, gas, water, internet, security monitoring. They're all currently billed through my business account." The frown deepened. "Why?" "Because I set up the accounts before you closed on the house. Automated everything. It was easier to keep them under my business umbrella temporarily." "So I need to transfer them to my name?" "Yes." "That's fine. I can do that. How much are we talking about?" I showed him my phone, the spreadsheet I'd created. 5 months of utility costs, $3,240. That's what I've paid so far. Going forward, you'll be looking at about $600 per month. Roger's face went pale. $600 per month for utilities? Your house is 2,800 square feet. Smart home systems run constantly. Security monitoring isn't cheap. That's the actual cost. I thought utilities would be like $200 a month. In a small apartment, maybe. Not here. He sat down at the kitchen counter, stared at the numbers on my phone. "I can't afford $600 a month for utilities. Then you'll need to modify your usage, turn off automation, disconnect the security monitoring, switch to basic internet." "But that defeats the purpose of the smart home." "Smart homes are expensive to operate," I said. "That's why I was covering the costs while you got settled." He looked up at me. "You've been paying my utilities?" "Yes." "For 5 months?" "Yes." "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because I was giving you a gift. I didn't think I needed to announce it." Roger stood up, paced to the window, paced back. "This is insane. I can't pay $600 a month for utilities on top of my mortgage." "Then you'll need to make adjustments." "Can't you keep paying just for a few more months until I figure things out?" I looked at him. Really looked at him. Same face I'd seen my whole life. Same expectation that I'd solve his problems. Same assumption that my resources were his to use. "No," I said. The word hung in the air. Roger stared at me like I'd spoken a foreign language. "No?" "No, I'm not paying your utilities anymore." "Why not?" "Because you humiliated me at your party. Because Mom told me not to touch anything I didn't buy. Because Melissa told me to stay in the corner. Because not one person in this family has ever acknowledged what I do for them." "That's what this is about? You're punishing me because of a joke?" "It wasn't a joke, and I'm not punishing you. I'm just stopping. There's a difference." Roger's face flushed. "You're my brother." "I am, which is why I rewired your entire house for 20% of what it cost me. Why I set up all your utilities. Why I built custom automation systems. I've been your brother every day of my life, but you've only remembered I exist when you needed something. That's not fair." "It's completely fair." He grabbed his beer, took a long drink, set it down hard. "So what now? You're just going to leave my house broken?" "Your house isn't broken. But yes, I'm leaving. Here's what you need to know." I opened my email and forwarded him a document. "That's the utility account information. Contact each provider to transfer the accounts to your name. Once you've done that, I'll reactivate the smart home systems. How long will that take? However long it takes you to set up the accounts and start making payments. What if I can't afford it? Then you'll live in a house with basic electricity and no automation. People do it every day. I walked toward the door. Roger followed. Henry, wait. Can we talk about this? We just did. I mean, really talk. Work something out. I stopped at the door, turned back. Roger, I spent 16 hours building you a custom smart home controller. I wrapped it, brought it to your party, and your response was to laugh while Mom told me not to break things. You want to work something out? Start by acknowledging what I've already given you. I opened the door and walked out. Behind me, I heard Roger call my name once, then silence. The drive home felt longer than usual. I kept replaying the conversation, the shock on his face when he learned about the utility costs, the panic when I said no, the assumption that I'd fix everything like I always did. But I was done fixing things for free. The fallout happened in stages. First came the angry calls. Roger called 6 times the day after our conversation, left voicemails that progressed from frustrated to desperate. He'd contacted the utility companies, learned the deposit requirements for new accounts, the connection fees, the waiting periods, everything I'd bypassed by using my business credentials. My mother called 2 days later. Her voice carried that particular tone of disappointed authority. She wanted to know why I was being difficult, why I couldn't just help Roger like family should. I listened to the voicemail twice, then deleted it. Melissa sent a long text message, multiple paragraphs about family obligation and forgiveness. She said I was holding a grudge over nothing, that I needed to be the bigger person. I didn't respond. My father never called. That told me everything. Roger managed to get the electricity and water transferred within a week. The gas took longer. Internet required a new installation because the infrastructure I'd set up was proprietary to my smart home design. He had to pay for a standard installation, $300. Security monitoring required a new contract without my business discount. His monthly cost jumped from $0 to $718. He called once more after the first bills arrived. Asked if I'd reconsider. I asked if he'd acknowledge what I'd done for him. He said he appreciated everything, but couldn't afford the costs. I told him that was between him and his budget. He hung up. The smart home system stayed in maintenance mode. Roger hired another contractor to look at it. The contractor called me after examining everything, professional courtesy. Asked if I'd installed a custom authentication system. I confirmed. He asked if I planned to provide the credentials. I said no. He told Roger the systems were functional but locked, and that bypassing them would void the electrical certification. Roger tried one more approach. He showed up at my apartment on a Saturday morning. I saw him through the peephole, considered not answering, but I opened the door. Can I come in? He asked. Why? I want to talk. Actually, talk. I stepped aside. He walked in, stood awkwardly in my living room. Nice place, he said. I waited. Look, I get it. You're upset. You have a right to be upset. What Mom said was mean. What Melissa said was mean. I should have defended you. Okay? Okay. You should have. You didn't. What else? He exhaled. I need your help, Henry. The house is falling apart. Not literally, but functionally. Nothing works the way it should. The bills are insane. I'm trying to figure out how to make it all work, and I can't. Sell it, I said. What? Sell the house. Get something smaller, more affordable. I just bought it. That doesn't mean you have to keep it. I can't just sell it. Do you know what I'd lose? Less than you'll lose trying to keep it. Roger sat down on my sofa without asking. Put his head in his hands. I don't understand why you're doing this. I'm your brother. You are, and I've been a good brother to you. I've helped you for years, paid for things you never knew about, fixed problems you never acknowledged. But I'm done being invisible infrastructure. I never thought of you that way. That's the problem. You never thought of me at all. He looked up. So this is permanent? You're just cutting me off? I'm not cutting you off. I'm just not paying for your life anymore. You're 31 years old. Figure it out. What about the smart home systems? You're just going to leave them broken? They're not broken. They're locked. There's a difference. Can you unlock them? Yes. Will you? I thought about it. Really thought about it. Maybe eventually. But not now. Right now, you need to understand what your house actually costs. What I've been covering. What you took for granted. Roger stood up. You've made your point. Have I? Yes, you're angry. You want acknowledgement. Fine. I acknowledge what you've done. Can we move past this now? That's not how acknowledgement works. You don't get to check a box and move on. You have to actually understand what you're acknowledging. I understand. You helped me a lot. You gave me discounts. You paid some bills. I get it. You don't. You think this is about money. It's not. It's about 36 years of being treated like I don't matter, like I'm a resource instead of a person, like my value begins and ends with what I can provide. Roger's face hardened. So you're punishing me for how the whole family treats you? I'm stopping the pattern. That's not punishment. It's boundary setting. He walked to the door, turned back. You're going to regret this. Family is supposed to stick together. I agree, I said. Let me know when everyone else figures that out. He left. The door closed with a quiet click. 3 weeks passed. My phone stopped ringing. The messages stopped coming. The family accepted my absence the way they'd accepted my presence. As background, as something that was simply there, until it wasn't. I had dinner with my accountant. Kelly reviewed the documentation, reclassified everything properly. The tax implications were significant, but manageable. She looked at me across the table and said something I won't forget. Henry, you've been subsidizing your family's lifestyle for years. They were never going to appreciate it because they never saw the cost. You've done the right thing by stopping. I started taking Saturdays for myself. No emergency calls, no family obligations, just time. I went hiking, read books, learned to play guitar. Small things, personal things, things that didn't involve fixing problems for ungrateful relatives. Roger's house stayed in its reduced state. Basic electricity, no automation, no integrated systems. He kept the lights on and the heat running. That was enough. It had to be enough, because I wasn't changing my position. My mother sent one final message. Henry, I don't understand why you're being this way, but I hope you'll reconsider. Family should help family. I typed a response. Deleted it. Typed another. Deleted that, too. Finally, I wrote, I helped for 36 years. I'm done now. I hope you all figure out how to help each other. I never heard back. Life moved forward. My business grew. I took on interesting projects, met new people, built systems for clients who appreciated good work. The absence of family drama created space I didn't know I needed. Sometimes I drove past Roger's street, never turned down his road, just passed the intersection and kept going. The house was his problem now, his expense, his responsibility. I'd been the silent provider for long enough. Now I was just Henry, contractor, business owner, person who knew his own worth. The revenge hadn't been loud. No dramatic confrontation, no public humiliation, just withdrawal, just stopping, just letting them experience the weight of what I'd been carrying. I used to fix everything for everyone. Now I fix nothing. And somehow life finally works. I focus on my business, my hobbies, quiet weekends. Family silence became freedom. I learned that you don't have to be loud to be heard. You just have to stop being invisible. And sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply walk away. Our story has come to an end. If you've made it this far, how about subscribing to our channel? It helps us immensely. I've selected 2 other videos for you that I'm sure you'll enjoy. Feel free to click on them. I'll be waiting for you in the next story. See you soon.